what you're describing sounds like quite a paradigm shift from the ways that currently services are delivered and experienced. How do we move that forward, Helen?
I think it's like things like today. It's thinking globally, acting locally. And this doesn't come through policy. This comes from the people here that believe this already, that can influence each other, that you're not going to have a policy that's going to direct a workforce to work in this direction. It comes through a much deeper knowledge base. It comes through a belief, it comes from a value base. This is one of the things that we forget. Recovery is not a model. It's a social movement. And when we remember that and we connect it to a rights movement and a responsibility movement and a citizenship movement, it sits firmly in our belief structures about what's my role in your life. And it loses it transcends all that kind of policy about how we do stuff. I don't think there's anything stopping us practicing what I'm saying now, today. What is stopping us is our perception about what's stopping us. Oh, until the psychiatrists get on board. Well, in my experience, the psychiatrists around the world are driving this stuff more than any other professional group. Until we get a policy that says that we can do it, well, we don't need a policy to give us permission. This is an attitude. This is a belief about what's possible here. And I'm thankful for those, one or two workers in my history of treatment that worked as if recovery was possible. They didn't have the language around recovery, but they worked as if Helen was still there, even though they're not in my life now to see the outcomes. And that's a brave act. That's a courageous act, to work as if with no payback about, well, I work this way, but she's still the same. But it's an investment and a commitment. Patricia Deegan talks about planting a seed, an environment that can plant a seed, rather than you have to get the person to be a tree. Yeah, and I think this is these analogies are really important, and they've been there for a long time. People have been reclaiming their lives since before Jesus was a boy, and they've been documenting it for nearly that long as well. But it's only in recent years that systems of care have captured and to some extent colonised this concept away from what it really is about. And it's coming back to where do we hear the wisdom of lived expertise informing what we do and how we go about it. It's not rocket science.
So today is about understanding that wisdom of the lived expertise and actually gaining
and the workers' experience too. I think we all have a lived expertise. I don't think it's just because someone has a mental illness that they have righteousness over this knowledge base. I think it's really about connecting everyone to their sense of overcoming, their sense of mastery, their sense of self-writing, and draw on that. And there are workers in this room, they wouldn't be here if they weren't, that are probably already fervently believing and practicing from this standpoint. And it's about joining up this thinking so that it's not about the us and the them. It's around a shared knowledge base of taking it forward. And I think, like a social movement, it's not just people with a lived experience that are pushing this. There are lots and lots of people that support things to be done differently. And we've got lots of experience and evidence. Lots of people have probably got personal experiences about how things haven't worked for them. We don't have to revisit that. The literature is littered with those things. But what we need to spend more time about is dreaming what's possible here. Because what we're doing is probably the boulders that are standing in the way of people's lives. Inadvertently. We're not intentionally doing it, but inadvertently.
In saying that we all have a lived experience, a consumer at one of our consultations said, recovery is not just for consumers, it's for everybody. It's a journey and it's for everybody. Is that something you agree with, and how can that help us take things forward?
I think this is a really important point. It joins us together in our humanness. So when we think about another value base that I talk about is about we are joined more by our sameness than our difference. And that's a really important one to hold together, that people who really understand this experience don't see themselves different to those that they're supporting. Also, outside of this, I kind of do a lot of talking and educating around here in Australia and overseas, and I would doubt that I have many experiences where someone comes up to me and says, oh, this I've used this with my teenage kids. You know, it's the same process, or, you know, I've had cancer and this is exactly the same process that you're talking about. And we've all overcome something. And what it takes to overcome a mental illness and the processes it takes to overcome that is not dissimilar from the processes, well, probably exactly the same as the process it takes to overcome other life adversities. And knowing that this overcoming and this reclaiming of our mastery is a contributing factor to our life. It's not a, oh, you poor thing, you've had a mental illness. It's kind of because of this experience, I'm stronger, I'm better, I have more knowledge, I have more mastery. And this is what the evidence will also tell us. When we listen to the stories of people with lived expertise, they will say, my mental illness has given me far more than it has dared to take away. And when we come from that viewpoint, we'll create spaces, you know, much more like a fitness trainer that knows it's already within you to create what's possible. Not, I have to make it, I have to shape you into that.